I've never liked gratitude journaling. I hate exercises that feel like I'm forcing some sort of positive morality on myself. Anything in the "you should be grateful, think of the starving children" tone. If I was your client and you suggested a gratitude practice, you'd see my eyes glaze over and a politeness come upon me, which means contact has broken. And in this short video, I want to show you why that happens and how to repair it. Hi, I'm Liz McNamara, and I'm a Gestalt psychotherapist who teaches journaling as an experiment that therapists can introduce into their work with their clients. And today, we're tackling gratitude journaling, which is one of the most well-known forms of prompted journaling and one of the oldest forms of journaling, which was tested in the early 2000s. Now, one of those large early-scale studies showed that gratitude journaling made people feel better even when they barely wrote anything. Just a simple weekly list of 3 things you feel grateful for shifted mood and sleep and overall well-being. So it's easy to see why, just as the internet and positive psychology really started to boom, gratitude practices exploded into popularity. And the effect is measurable. A recent review of studies found that those who practice gratitude get a 5.8% lift in well-being. And for decades now, trial after trial has shown that gratitude practices like journaling have at least 7 psychological benefits: less stress, less anxiety, less depression, more positive affect, optimism, and overall life satisfaction. And finally, from all that, better resilience. In high-stress situations, even a brief gratitude writing exercise can reduce stress and negative affect, sometimes more effective than traditional forms of journaling such as venting. So how does it work? Why would writing 3 things that you're grateful for make such a difference? The core mechanism is attention training. Gratitude interventions retrain attention bias, shifting what the brain notices, encodes, and remembers. As I'm sure you know, humans naturally prioritize threats. We have this negativity bias, and gratitude temporarily redirects attention towards micro moments of safety, support, and even pleasure. And repeating this process strengthens those cognitive pathways associated with positive evaluations of situations, and the brain starts to scan differently. And the result, ultimately, is an upward shift of mood. And the second mechanism is cognitive reappraisal. So gratitude helps people reinterpret life events with a slightly more flexible, less catastrophic lens. It increases positive reinterpretation, which is a form of cognitive reappraisal, which you might more know as, rewriting the narrative. And this reduces rumination and gives clients a sense of having room to breathe psychologically. And that shift doesn't have to be huge. We're not looking for everything is great. It might just start with not everything is 100% terrible. Just a little glimmer, just a concession towards the light. And that glimmer of possibility, that light shift in the story, is how gratitude practices can reduce depressive symptoms, even when people remain in a stressful situation. Now I want to talk about, there's a work by Barbara Fredrickson, and I said I'd come back to mood. Well, what she found was that positive emotions, even tiny ones, temporarily widen a person's field. And because you're noticing more things, you see things differently, you see new opportunities and choose better solutions to problems than you would in your normal state. So then your behavior starts to become more effective. You can see more chances in life, if you like, and While we don't always get the outcomes we like, this simple moment of taking the time to write 3 things you're grateful for once a week, by creating that state where you choose better, increases your chance of good life and overall happiness. So on a side note, I might suggest that right after a gratitude practice is a great time to journal about decisions. Fredrickson also showed that repeated doses of positive emotion improves health. And it does this in particular by increasing vagal tone, creating a positive loop that she calls positivity resonance. And that shows up in people's relationships, an increasing sense of trust with people, and openness and bonding and overall resilience. So, expanded emotional bandwidth leads to more flexible thinking, which leads to better decisions, which leads to better outcomes, making more likely that clients will have more positive experiences in the future. And you can see that this is an entry point, these simple 3 things, an entry point into that whole upward spiral. Now let's take a look at how gratitude journaling affects our sense of connection and loneliness. Research there shows that subjects who practice gratitude journaling feel more connected, even if their external circumstances haven't changed. And they might describe that as something or someone is supporting me, or I matter to someone. Gratitude journaling affects 3 qualities in relationships: the sense of feeling supported, the ability to trust, and the experience of being positively bound to others. So there's a whole heap of studies, and I'm just going to read the conclusions from a set of them. Gratitude journaling increased perceived support in adolescents and adults. Gratitude correlates strongly with feeling supported and valued. Gratitude increases trust and pro-social behaviour, even towards strangers. Gratitude predicts pro-social choices in economic games. And then there's Igo's find, remind, bind theory. Gratitude helps you to find supportive people. It reminds you of who has been supportive, and it binds you closer to them. Gratitude works partly because it restores the most basic human message: you're not alone. The nervous system responds to that immediately.